Hi, this is Vanessa Levin. This is my channel about the mental health field and related topics. So I thought that I would share a couple of stories with you about not feeling obligated to change who you are because of criticism, especially when it's not constructive criticism. And I have a couple of stories about this, including one about art therapy. So, yeah, so two stories. One, I had a supervisor who is now retired. I haven't been keeping up, so I'm like possibly deceased. Don't know. But one of the, I think, second round of founding mothers in art therapy. I guess fortunate to work with her, but damn, I'm so glad that when she retired, because sometimes just boomers have different mentalities than the younger generations, and I think that it's great that there's younger generations to come in and change things, especially for the better. So me and this woman, oh my god, did we have it out for each other. And the toxicity of the academic environment at that time at the grad school that I attended, oh my god, terrible. So I was told that I had to kind of deal with this because you're always going to have to deal with people like this. Well, I mean, joke's on you. I'm in private practice. I don't have to deal with people like that anymore. Yay. No people on power trips. That's awesome. But I mean, Jesus, really? That's the reason that you want me to stay in a shitty internship? Because, I might have to learn these skills anyway? Maybe that's not the best way to approach that. So, oh my God, she was such a jerk. Just not constructive criticism, but trying to be, but never trying to understand my side. So, and I can tell you what this professors also said. So, in painting, you do not mix your oil paintbrushes with your watercolor paintbrushes, because I think it has something to do with the oils getting onto the brush and being deeply embedded in them, that you're not gonna get a really good watercolor out of the same brushes that you use for oils. So you have to keep them separate. So I asked which ones are watercolor brushes, and this woman stared me down. I was a student, stared me down. I was 50 years younger than her, and she's staring me down. Another intern had to get in between us, which I'm that woman was the supervisor was 50 years older than us and is staring me down. This other intern should not have had to get in the way in between this situation. That is uncomfortable on so many levels. So she just immediately thinks I'm an idiot, and there is no convincing her out of this. There's no convincing her that this is an honest question because of the separation that you have to have. It's just open craft closet, and she's so you don't know the difference between it's between watercolor brushes and any other brush? And I'm no, because there's technically not a difference. There's things that you should definitely use for watercolor, but these, I mean, basically they had craft brushes, so it's not there was any difference. Both of them were used by in a myriad of ways. She didn't give a shit. That was the problem. So yeah, she thought that I was an idiot. Okay, well, whatever. And then there was another time that I used an art medium that I wasn't familiar with, and instead of her being hey, what happened? She was yeah, so that was an awful drawing, so you need to go and take more art classes. And I was okay, so my classes were $1,000 at least to take one 3-credit course at the time. It's probably much more now. It's probably $3,000 or $4,000. So you want me to do what now with my money because you think that I need that? And always with the guilt trips. Oh my God, always with the guilt trips. you never know when someone's going to need help figuring out how to, draw a picture. I have actually not had that issue ever. That's not how I do art therapy. I don't help my clients like that. This isn't an art class. You want an art class? Go take an art class. This isn't it. Whatever comes out is the way that it's supposed to come out, and we can talk about it. Anything else? Well, sorry you struggled with it. There's tutorials online. So, yeah, always with the guilt. So, what my professors told me to do is accept what was said and push it off. Kind of like what you do in like certain martial arts is accept the punch and then push it off, because you're getting the other person off balance. Fine. But they didn't entirely tell me how to do that. So, I was like crushed and was like, oh my God, this person. Yeah. Had they said like, if you can just kind of laugh it off, or you can just be like, yeah, okay, I'm the idiot. Sure. Then it hurts less, because like you really aren't taking it in and you're really not accepting it. And you don't have to change. You don't have to change just because someone says something to you. You're not obligated. Now, if someone offers a constructive criticism, like, hey, what happened with this? And I was like, I don't know how to draw a human figure. Then she could be like, oh, maybe like a human, figure drawing class would be really beneficial for you. And like had she done that, I would be like, oh, I can't really right now, but like, maybe that's something to think about for the future. And then that would be the end of the conversation, but that's not the conversation we had. So, I also had a friend, and I remember this as being like the first time that I was like, yeah, I don't believe this. I spent the night at my friend's house, watched a movie on his laptop. He fell asleep. I was still awake, so watched a movie. And then I fell asleep. That was it. And he was mad at me for that. But instead of being like, hey, the next time you use my computer, do A, B, and C instead, whatever, like log out of my Netflix or whatever it was, that was the real issue. That was the issue. I don't think that was the real issue, but like the issue. Just let me, like, here's what I'd like for you to do in the future. That's not the conversation we had. He just said, you're a bad friend. And I was like, I logicked my way through that and was like, okay, so at this point, we are done. I don't think he really liked that I wasn't willing to like, be like, oh my God, I need to change. Maybe other people were so, I don't know, willing to do that. Not me. So I was just kind of like, yeah, all right, so this is done. And, I was out with friends, we were having dinner, and he started texting me like crazy. And I was like, this is such bullshit. Like, and I was still so not interested in anything with this friendship because of this you're a bad friend thing, and especially like, how confusing is that to be like, you're a bad friend, but you're not. What? Why are you texting me if I'm such a bad person and a bad friend? So, he didn't go out with grace on that one. Like, I think he got like really mad and like was trying to be like, look at all the things you're missing, and I was like, I'm not missing anything. If you think that I'm a bad person, why would I hang out with you again? So yeah, like there's just a strength in knowing who you are and knowing that like someone saying something like that is just meant to hurt you, and you don't have to change anything. And for example, like it's really like when people say you have to have a thick skin to be on YouTube, like they really do mean it. Like there are people who will just be like, give you like 5 sources of why saying in a sentence is terrible and awful and makes you look unprofessional, and they want me to change. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're not my fan base. That's okay. You don't have to comment ever. You can downvote it and I will still be fine. Sorry, I'm on Imgur a lot, so I'm like, well, yeah, downvote. Instead of what, dislike? Yeah, sorry, just thanks. Anyway, But like, I think that there are people who honestly think that blowing through, one video, never stopping by again, and saying these comments or like leaving me an essay or leaving me like resources makes it seem like, oh, I'm just doing you a favor. Okay. You're not, though. I don't care. This is probably the only time you're here, and you're not even being constructive. Like, you're basically being like, you aren't who I want you to be, change. But you're not my fan base, and also I don't care. Now, people who have been in my life have pulled me aside and been like, hey, your videos are a little dark, like, and I've invested in ring lights, or your videos are this, and I've kind of switched over, changed something about some of my videos and like the way that I do them. Perfectly fine. But the people who breeze through and feel, first of all, that like I have to change, that I'm obligated to change because I don't know, let's say, don't like what I'm wearing, or don't like, I feel almost bad for them that they are around these manicured people who have to stick to scripts and can't say anything off script, and probably work for agencies that tell them all the time, like, you're the image of our agency, you can't say anything mean about us, because basically it's your job. They're threatening your job. So every therapist who comes on and says, sometimes you just might have depression, why don't you call this organization? Basically threatened. Basically, they can't say, I mean, we have some ways of helping with that. Hopefully we put you with the right therapist. Sometimes we fire therapists at last minute, and you might not have anything more than a few minutes of, of a little bit of grief before you're put in front of another therapist, like, yeah. And some of the things that I've talked about on my channel, I mean, you can look them up, when was the first time that Connecticut had an art therapy license? 2019. I've had my LPC since like 2014. It's a long time. And it's even more expensive. Sorry, it's more expensive than the LPC, and it's not covered by insurances. Seriously, literally, let me tell you, the wording for the bill to create this licensure was, we want to feel validated. Art therapists felt that they weren't validated as a field, even though there's like, 50, now maybe 55 years of existence, that they needed the licensure to feel validated. Yeah. So, I mean, that is there. It's there. Sorry, it's so funny. Yeah, so that's in the actual like letter of the law and proposed law. I think it was like HB 4441 or something like that, if you want to like look up when it was, before, like the bill before it was a law. Yeah. I mean, to me, I'm just like, okay, yeah, that was just, no. Mm-mm. So no. Yeah. So yeah, there's actual facts that you can look up for the things that I talk about, and I think that it's good to know some of the drawbacks to any particular job, including art therapy. And I think that it's terrible that there's not more art therapists saying, here's what a typical day looks like for me, and also here's some of the drawbacks that I struggle with. That probably is more important, and more variety would mean, more of an informed decision before you get into this field. Also, some states don't have licensure, just by the way. Just wanted to put that in there. Some states still don't have licensure. So you're probably going to get a mental health counselor or like license, or I think California just changed, so it's not a marriage and family therapist license anymore with an emphasis in art therapy. I think it's now an LPC. So, yeah. There's struggles. Anyway, hope that was helpful for you, and I will talk with you soon. All right, thanks.